The new set Triumphant Light is out, and Dialga Arceus EX has the highest win rate as the most played deck, definitively on the top of the tournament meta. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play the deck, including the best deck list for tournament and regular play, the usage and strategy for each card, how easy or difficult certain matchups are, and then I'll break down some replays to show you guys strategies against certain decks. As always, check out my TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram pages for daily deck lists, and without further ado, let's go. Starting off with our first Pokemon, Dialga EX is a 150 HP Steel type. It has the 2-cost attack Metallic Turbo for 2 Steel Energy. You deal 30 damage, and then take 2 energy from your energy zone, Steel Energy, and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So note that this doesn't require it to be a Steel Pokemon that gets the energy. It can be any Pokemon, so any Pokemon that uses either Steel type energy or colorless energy will benefit huge from this. This includes our Arceus, our Mew, and a second Dialga. It also has a 4-cost attack, Heavy Impact, dealing 100 damage. So 2 Dialga Heavy Impacts, or a Heavy Impact and an Ultimate Force from Arceus is basically enough to one-shot everyone. It's got a weakness to fire and a 2-cost retreat, which makes it perfect for the supporter Leaf. Next up is Arceus EX, a 140 health basic colorless. It has the ability Fabled Luster. Arceus EX cannot be affected by any special conditions. This means Burn, Poison, Sleep, Confuse, and Paralyze. So this ability completely negates some decks. Decks that play around Poison like Wheezing Scolipede get countered, that Troll Hypno deck, this Magius, stuff like that. Nothing super high in the meta revolves around special conditions, but in the future we might see some. The important part is its 3-cost attack Ultimate Force. It deals a base of 70 damage, plus 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon. This is a bigger version of Pikachu EX's attack, but it's 3 energy and it does not require lightning or electric types on your bench. It can be any type Pokemon on your bench, and the key is that it's 3 colorless energy. So our basic combo is going to be Dialga EX is going to Metallic Turbo for 2 energy. This will attach 2 Metal Energy to Arceus. Then we can retreat Dialga EX, either using the energy we used for Metallic Turbo or a free retreat with Leaf. We're going to swap in Arceus EX, who has the 2 energy from Metallic Turbo. We're going to add the 3rd energy from our turn, and then we can attack with Ultimate Force. So if you have all 3 Pokemon on the bench, that's going to deal 30 damage from the Metallic Turbo, and then next turn you'll be able to deal another 130, totaling 160, and then 130 every turn for the rest of the game. That's a good amount of damage for the 3 energy mark, but the key is that we also have a Dialga EX to play around in the back once Arceus falls, especially if you can Leaf out the Dialga and save that 2 energy on Dialga as well. Since we have spare energy after Arceus is stacked, you can then stack energy on a spare Dialga, Arceus, or Mew on the bench, and then swap them in for the game once your first Arceus falls. We got a weakness to fighting, which does unfortunately come up a lot, and a 2-cost retreat. We have a really high win rate against most decks, but we lose a lot to Ramparados, because that weakness lets Ramparados one-shot us, and the new Sudowoodo card can 2-shot us with that weakness. Our 2 copies of Giant Cape, though, can help us with that problem. The true retreat cost is pretty important. That means you can Leaf it away while keeping your energy on it. So if you start with Arceus and it gets low, you can swap into another Pokemon with 1 Leaf. And then once that Pokemon falls, you can swap back in Arceus for the game. Mew EX. It's a 130 health basic Psychic type EX. Make sure you change this in the deck editor to make the deck only Metal type every time you edit the deck. What we run Mew EX for is the 3-cost attack Genome Hacking. This lets you choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as that attack. So this is an exceptional tool against Pokemon with huge attacks. The most common examples you're going to run into are Charizard EX and Palkia EX. Mewtwo EX is also the classic one, where copying their big, super expensive move will actually one-shot them completely. Charizard takes 200, Palkia and Mewtwo both take 150, and the key is that it's a 3-cost colorless. So just like how Arceus EX costs 3 colorless, we can use Dialga EX's Metallic Turbo to add 2 Metal Energy to Mew, and then swap it in and use our turn energy to use Genome Hacking right after. Now the Charizard, the Mewtwo, the Palkia players have seen this so many times, they know this is a threat, so just keeping it on your bench is enough of a threat, as anytime you have Dialga in play with 2 energy, you could attach that Metallic Turbo and use Genome Hacking the next turn. Even if they one-shot your Dialga, you can one-shot them next turn with Mew. It has a weakness to Dark and a 1-cost retreat. So there are matchups where Mew EX is huge, and there are matchups where Mew EX is fairly useless. For example, Poke decks that have small attacks, a lot of the fighting types, this Mew EX isn't going to do much for you. Although do note, Mew EX does attack as a Psychic type, so it will deal bonus damage to a lot of the fighting types. It has a 1-cost retreat, meaning you can also retreat it for free with Leaf, or just 1 turn energy. If you get stuck on it as your only starter Pokemon, you can play it and then swap it out for only 1 energy. And then if you only took 20 damage, you can potion it up, so it's not a target for Cyrus later. So the 2 Arceus and the 2 Dialga, just about everyone's running. The point of contention and difference between all of the tournament deck lists is the Pokemon you run after it. So I think the 1 copy of Mew EX is a solid pick, especially in random play. You're going to run into a lot more Charizards, Palkias, and attacks with big hits. Those are just really popular decks. And they're also pretty popular in tournament too. I feel like this deck has a big problem against the Charizard matchup if you don't have a Mew EX, since you just get outscaled really quickly, and a lucky and we can't burn through both the Moltres and Charizard EX health super fast. So I feel like the Mew EX is kind of necessary for that matchup. It's also important to remember that we want 3 benched Pokemon to activate the full amount of attack for Arceus EX's Ultimate Force, since we gain 20 damage for each of our benched Pokemon, up to 3. And if we only run 5 Pokemon, there's going to be a lot of games where we don't actually reach that 3 bench. so adding in another Pokemon helps with that. This is where I think you should add in Shaman. Shaman is a 60 HP grass type basic. It has the ability Fragrant Flower Garden. Once per turn, you can heal 10 damage from all of your Pokemon. So the idea with this is that you're going to start with Dialga or Arceus EX in the main slots, and they're going to be taking a lot of damage over time as you stack up the Metallic Turbo. So a 10 health heal every turn is pretty useful. There's also a variant that runs 2 of these Shamans because they stack together, so 20 HP per turn is really good. That's going to nullify the Darkrai ability, Greninja, stuff like that. But even at 10, you're getting rid of a lot of the poke at 2 turns, and you're getting rid of stuff like Spiritomb and the Articuno Blizzard, splash damage with 1 turn. Overall, I think this is the best pick for a 6 Pokemon. There are also people in tournaments running the new Shaman from Triumphant Light. It's a normal type basic with the ability that makes all of your Pokemon have a 1 less retreat cost. If you play this, you don't have to rely as much on a Leaf for that Dialga backup play. But my problem with it is it only saves you 1 energy. So if you want Dialga to return with a heavy impact, you're going to have to live for 3 turns on your Arceus, which can happen in some games, but doesn't happen in a lot of them. I'd rather run the healing on Shaman. I think that comes in clutch a lot more often than a 1 less retreat cost. I feel like if you want to run that Shaman, you can drop some of these supporters or items for more X speeds, and then you'll get more benefit out of that passive ability. In my opinion, the 6 Pokemon count is enough to usually get 2 or mostly 3 Pokemon on the bench in almost every game. You're gonna have to be super unlucky to be only stuck with 1, which does happen and did happen to me plenty of times. We do have 2 Pokeballs and 2 Professor's Research to alleviate that problem. Let's talk about supporters. Our first supporter is Leaf. Leaf is from Mythical Island and makes our retreat cost 2 less energy. So as I mentioned before, this is super good for swapping out our Dialga EX into Arceus EX after the Metallic Turbo. This keeps the energy on Dialga EX alive, so we can stack up the Dialga EX for the 100 damage heavy impact, or even swap it back in to get another Metallic Turbo off into swapping into another Arceus EX, or the Mew EX for that matter. The value of that energy saving comes up in almost every game, so I think this is a super valuable supporter to have. I think it's very likely for your Arceus to live 2 turns for that 2 energy cost to matter, whereas with X-Speed or Shaman, you need 3 turns each, which I think is a little less unlikely. Dawn is a supporter from Space-Time Smackdown. It lets you move an energy from one of your benched Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So the combo with this is that you use Dialga EX's Metallic Turbo, and then attach 2 energy onto any Pokemon. The next turn, you can Dawn over one of those energies and attach it to Dialga, and then add your turn energy for 4. With that, you can start attacking with heavy impact on what's supposed to be your 3rd energy. So this is more of an aggressive, fast-paced play. If you can kill a key target with the 100 damage, whether it's combined with the Metallic Turbo or they swap something in, then this is a good option to have. There's also going to be situations where you have something on the bench that you're just stacking up with energy in the back, and you can Dawn that over for a surprise attack with Arceus EX. I only run 1 copy of this in this deck. I don't think it's good enough to warrant 2. There's going to be a lot of games where you want to stack on Arceus EX instead for that scaling, as the 130 damage is just more than 100. It's also very valuable to have the energy split, as it gives you options for a late game plan. The next card is Giovanni. Y'all might be thinking Giovanni in this set, really? So what Giovanni does is that it adds 10 damage to any attack you have against your opponent's active. The key is that Arceus EX deals a max of 130 damage with the Ultimate Force with 3 Pokemon on the bench, right? And a lot of the meta Pokemon are above 130 health, so Giovanni is going to let you one-shot Pokemon at 140 health, and there is such a long list of these. So the most common example is going to be Arceus EX in the mirror matchup, also Articuno EX, Aerodactyl EX, Darkrai EX, Weavile EX, Magnezone, Garchomp, Glaceon EX, Leafeon EX, Marowak EX, Mismagius EX, Moltres EX, the new Snorlax and Staraptor, Scolipede, Porygon Z, Togekiss, Wigglytuff EX, and Yanmega EX, and many more. This is assuming they don't have a giant cape, and the 140 damage mark is going to make us one-shot 120 HP Pokemon with giant cape. The most common examples of this is going to be Pachirisu and Pikachu EX. Some others are Greninja, Metal Heatran, Mythical Island Vaporeon, and regular Arceus. So that 140 HP breakpoint is super important. I will say in tournament, be careful when you use this because you never know when you're going to need to break that 140 HP. Save it, keep it in your hand as a surprise, because not many people are running Giovanni's these days, and most people are only running a max of 1. Now, I only run 1 because, again, I don't think it's good enough to run 2 copies, but I think it's definitely worth running for that breakpoint. Next up is Cyrus. Cyrus lets you switch in one of your opponent's benched Pokemon that has damage on it into the active spot. So you run 1 copy of Cyrus and 1 copy of Sabrina. I think this should be run in every deck. Our deck doesn't have any backline access like Hitmonlee or Garchomp EX does, so I only think it's worth running 1 Cyrus instead of 2. But this is going to be super good to chase down Pokemon that were hit by Dialga EX or Arceus EX before, whether it's low HP Pokemon getting tagged by Metallic Turbo or high HP boss monsters that we need to finish off. When it's useful, it's usually a game-winning card. On the flip side, we also run 1 Sabrina. This lets you switch out one of your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, but they get to choose which one gets swapped in. If they only have one Pokemon, they're forced to swap that one in. That scenario comes up a lot and can get you easy kills. The reason why we run one Sabrina and not two Cyruses is because you can't use Cyrus if you haven't damaged anyone on their team. And for a lot of games, the only damaged Pokemon, at least in the early and mid game, is going to be the one in the active slot until they die. So a lot of times Cyrus is a completely dead card until the late game, where Sabrina you can always use. Sabrina can also be used to stall out in energy. It's gonna force them to use retreat costs. You could swap in something like a Kangaskhan in the back, and they have to use that 3 retreat cost or let it die. This can help you stall an extra turn for your Arceus or Dialga to ramp up. So I think both Sabrina and Cyrus have their uses and warrant running one of each in the deck. Last supporter is Professor's Research. Draw 2 cards, Pot of Reed. Run this in every deck. There you go. For items, we got 2 Pokeballs. These are gonna help you find your Dialga EX, Arceus EX, Mew EX, and Shaman. You need this to help fill the bench for Arceus EX. 2 potions, like I said before with the Shaman reasoning. Healing is super good since we're keeping Dialga and Arceus EX up on the front. We have enough slots to run 2 potions and 2 capes, so we don't have this problem. But potion is super good because let's say you have a Dialga EX that got tagged for 20 damage by a Darkrai ability. So it's at 130 HP, right? So if you swap it away and potion it, it'll be at 150 out of 150 HP, meaning it's at full. Whereas if you only caped it, it would be at 150 out of 170 HP, so it wouldn't be at full HP. This means it can still be Cyrused, where with the potion, it can't. This means it can still be Cyrus, since technically it does have damage on it, whereas with the potion, it can't. The 20 HP healing is going to be super good against Darkrai EX poke and pretty much everything in the game. We also run 2 copies of Giant Cape, and this is going to be key in certain matchups. Arceus EX has 140 health and Dialga EX has 150 health. Mew also has 130, so adding 20 at max HP is going to be key in a lot of matchups. This is going to help us survive the 150 mark for Arceus EX and the 160 mark for Dialga. A lot of things are the 150 mark. This includes Palkia EX attack, Mewtwo EX side drive, Arceus plus Giovanni, and most importantly, the Rampardos, which is our biggest counter, as well as 2 Sudowoodo attacks, many such cases. Having the ability to survive these one-shots is super important for our deck because we have high investment costs in each of our Pokemon, so I run 2 copies of these over any Rocky Helmets. Rocky Helmet is a good card. It helps us one-shot a lot of stuff with Arceus EX without having to rely on Giovanni, but I think the utility of Pokemon Tool and Shaman are a little higher. So that's a wrap for all the cards in the deck. Before I move on, here's how you get every card. Giovanni's in Genetic Apex Mewtwo, Sabrina's in Charizard, Mew EX and Leaf are in Mythical Island. We got Shaman, Dialga EX, Giant Cape, and Dawn from Space-Time Smackdown Dialga, Cyrus from Space-Time Smackdown Palkia, and Arceus EX is from the new pack Triumphant Light. Notice the only card we need from the new set is 2 Arceus EX. So if you've been playing for a while and pick up 2 of those, this might be the deck for you. And with the new set release, you can now trade for all those cards except for Arceus EX. So if you're missing that Dialga or Shaman, trading is your way to get it. If you're looking for a spot to trade, battle, discuss the game, or look at all my deck lists, check us out on Discord. We got a friendly community who's always looking to trade. Once again, the basic combo is Dialga EX, Metallic Turbo, then we want to leaf Dialga EX out into Arceus or Mew, use Ultimate Force or Genome Hacking, and then stack energy on our Dialga or anything in the back to swing for the late game. Alright, so let's take a good bit to look at some data. This site is called Limitless TCG and it has the data for all the tournaments hosted on the site. This is the main site where all the tournaments are hosted, so almost every tournament's going to be on here with the data for each deck played, each player that's playing it, and each game played. So this score here is 3,006 wins, 2,310 losses, and 49 draws. So we got a 56% win rate with by far the highest amount of games played, right? The share of games played is 13%. Next deck is 6%, 6%, 6%, 5%. And the next one with anywhere near the same win rate is Articuno with 4.86%. And that's pretty luck-based, right? Just flipping their Misties. Articuno is very consistent compared to Palkia, which is even more luck-based. That's like you're flipping Misty, get the one shot off, win the game. And then the only other deck with a win rate at that level and that's been played like a decent amount is the Rampardos Lucario, but that's simply because there are so many Arceus players and that's a hard counter to Arceus. But yeah, this is even more dominant than last set. You can even see here, right? Where we thought the Darkrai Manazone was dominant, 55% win rate. I mean, it is dominant, but there's also the Executor, whereas this one pretty much stands alone with that many games played. Best finishes, first, third, fourth, first, second. The Ursaday tournament, it got third and fourth. Only lost to 2 of the Executor players. It also got 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th. So just goes to show how good this deck is. And of course, this is only the first week of tournaments. This is literally a day after the set dropped, but I think this just shows the deck is really strong. There will be more meta shifts. There will be more people playing Rampardos Lucario probably this weekend to counter this. So maybe there will be more Executor players to counter that. Get that rock, paper, scissors going. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see how it turns out, but I think it's pretty obvious that this is the top deck. Let's look at the matchups. So first line is the mirror matchup, and do keep in mind that these do incorporate different lists, right? There are the ones that run Mew EX, and they're the ones that run the Shamans. They're the ones that run the Swap Out Shaman. If you look at these best finishes here, you can kind of see the list. So this one was the one Shaman, one Heal Shaman, one Swap Out Shaman won this tournament. And then the Earth Day top decks were 3 and 4. So this player played one Shaman, Heal, and one Mew EX. That's the list I am sharing with you guys today. This is also a list that I would suggest running in competitive and on ladder play. I actually entered this tournament with 2 Shamans, but I found out like you really want Mew EX against the Charizard matchup especially, and a lot of other matchups too. Here's another list. This is a 1 Heal Shaman, 1 Mew EX as well, so literally the same thing, but they also run an Adaman instead. I think it's an idea, but I think it's just a little too inconsistent. Because let's see what they're not playing, right? They're also playing a Helmet, but they're down 1 Leaf and 1 Dawn. I'd rather have that availability for those plays instead of plus 30 resistance on 1 turn for my Dialga. And that's only useful in the early game when you're actually running Dialga in the front line. I guess it can be useful once your Arceus drops and you're playing Dialga again, but I just think the other options are way better. And the winner was a mirror matchup between the Rampardos decks as well. Interesting thing to see is that this one ran 1 Sudowoodo, the other one ran 2. The 2 Sudowoodo deck is going to be a lot better against the Arceus, but is going to lose to the mirror matchup because you'd rather have non-Sudowoodo cards in that mirror. Since Sudowoodo only deals 20 to non-EXs and 50 to EXs, and this deck doesn't run any EXs, so there you go. Back to matchups. So, of course, the second most played matchup is Rampardos Lucario, which is hard losing. But if you look at the rest of this column, right, almost all of them are positive. The reason this matchup is so hard is because Rampardos can deal 130 damage, right? And if it has 1 Lucario, it's going to deal 150. Plus, Arceus is weak to it. So the 150 with Lucario is going to one-shot the Dialga, and then the 130 plus the weakness on Arceus is going to one-shot the Arceus even without Lucario. And if they do have Lucario, you're gonna get one shot through Giant Cape as well. So they can just two-tap your entire board. They don't care about the self-damage if they can kill the Arceus first. They have plenty of ways to do that if they get a chip off with Cyrus from a Hitmonlee onto your Arceus is the most common way they're gonna do it. Because basically you have to kill them with Arceus before they hit you at all on your Arceus. Otherwise you're gonna lose the game. Since Hitmonlee deals 30 damage, a potion plus a Shaman heal is going to heal that away, and that makes you immune to Cyrus. So that's another reason to run 1 Shaman. You could even run 2, but then you're missing that Mew EX, right? So the Mew EX is going to be good against other matchups later on the line, but the Shaman is going to be really good against this matchup in fighting matchups, ones that hit the bench in particular. So I have it split at 1 and 1, but if you think there's going to be a lot of Rampardos players and not as many of the other decks being played, which is always going to be someone playing Charizard. Come on, it's Charizard. Then maybe you run the 2 Shaman more often. How do you win this matchup? I mean, just get lucky. That's really it, right? You hope they don't find their Rampardos fast enough, and you run through them quicker than they do. The Adaman can help your Dialga survive, but I think at that point, you'd rather have something else that accelerates your deck. Makes you able to play. The Dawn can help you rush through the Granados, stuff like that. Granados only has 90 HP. If you make the Dawn play, you can deal 30 from the Turbocharge if it's on the same target. If it's not on the same target, you can deal 100 with the Dawn play by charging up a Dialga in the back, and then by using Turbocharge and then charging up anyone in the back, using your turn energy next turn, and then Dawning over an energy for 4 energy. That's going to deal 100 damage if they swapped in their Granados. But yeah, this is the worst matchup by far. I'm pretty sure like all of the matchups are completely fine or winning. The only other matchup below 50 is Charizard, which is at 49.5, so not even barely below. And Lucario and Rampardos down here is like the same, literally the same deck, right? It is literally the same deck, it's just rearranged. Okay, never mind. So yeah, there's only two decks that this loses to, really. You scroll in here, like you see Starmie EX, Pocket EX, but no one's playing this. And honestly, it's just a really low sample size. I bet over a bigger sample size, you have a pretty decent matchup into this. Darkrai and Magnezone, the classic. I think this deck is just too slow to beat the Dialga EX Arceus EX ramp. You know, you're gonna take poke, and Magnezone is gonna be scary for your Dialga, but you're gonna be able to get to Arceus just fine with all that ramp. You can even get 2 ramps off a lot of the time on another Dialga or another Arceus or even another Mew. So I think you're chilling with this, especially if you're running a Shaman and potions, you're good. Winning 58% of the games here, yeah, honestly, it should be more. Leafeon and Celebi, so we have a hard winning matchup here according to the data, and I think that makes sense. Leafeon deals, what, 70 damage per hit? and so that's not enough to two-shot Dialga. And then the other thing is we hard outscale Celebi with our ramp. We have 2 tanks that Leafeon can't kill, and then Celebi can get one shot by Arceus straight up with a fully stacked legendary force, ultimate force. So I think it's a hard winning matchup for us. The new heals with Arita, Erica, Potion don't really matter to us if we just 1 or 2 shot them no matter what. Since our base damage is so high, it doesn't matter if they heal half their health, that they're still getting 2 shot. Articuno EX, so Articuno 18 trainer, same idea as Palkia EX, but slightly different. I think this is a hard winning matchup for us because it gives us a lot of time to ramp up. You know, they need 2 energy if they don't get a lucky Misty. They need 2 energy to start attacking, and they're only doing 40. We need 2 energy to start ramping, and then at 3 we can start packing a punch. You know, and if they don't draw a cape, then Arceus can just swap in quickly, one shot the Articuno, one shot the other one if we have all of our Pokemon on the bench. I think this is an easier matchup than the Palkia one, to be honest. So yeah, if you load into the Articuno, I wouldn't worry about it. You know, sometimes you get Mistied, it is what it is. Same idea with Palkia. Executor EX and Celebi EX. So this is the classic counter to Darkrai and Magnezone. Even better win rate than against Leafeon. Is because like you're running a Dialga, you're running a Arceus. None of your Pokemon are getting one shot by Executor, so you're good. They have to stand behind an Executor with 1 energy and a 3 retreat cost before they can use Celebi. And technically you do get outscaled if they're running like a superior variant, but the thing is you can still just one-shot Celebi EX at any time if they don't have a giant cape. So I think you're good to go on this one. You're gonna 2-shot Executor with anything. If they also don't heal, Executor only has 160 HP max, so if there's no heal and no capes, which doesn't happen often because it's a grass tech, but if that happens, you know, your Dialga EX attack, charge, plus the Arceus is going to one-shot it anyway. Yeah, I just don't think it's threatening enough. Even if they flip all heads, you're still going to have enough time to ramp. And then by the time their Celebi comes out, they're going to be relying on a lot of luck for their head flips, so you're good to go. I'll zoom in for y'all. Charizard EX and Moltres. Very, very classic deck. And this is a 49% win rate, so I ran into this and I went 1-2 against it because if they draw their Charizard line, you are screwed. Like, as soon as they get to 4 energy on Charizard, you're cooked. 2 of the full attacks off, you're dead because all of your Pokemon are EXs, right? But the thing is, if you have Mew EX, you're chilling because if they one-shot one of your Pokemon, then you can just swap into EX next turn and one-shot their Charizard. So they're not able to play their Charizard. They have to tank with Moltres instead. And then Moltres EX is at the 140 health mark. Even with Cape though, if they don't have a heal, you can 2-shot it with the Dialga charge plus the Arceus anyway. The problem is if you don't have Mew and you don't draw into it, then it's really hard for us to beat through Moltres and Charizard's HP. Charizard has a whole 200 to beat through, Moltres at 140. Our max damage is 130, we only have 1 Giovanni, so that's probably 4 attacks that we have to get through, and by the time we go through 4 attacks, they probably have 2 of the Charizard attacks ready to go. So generally losing matchup, not as hard losing as Ramparados, and pretty even if you have Mew EX. Palkia EX 18 trainer, so this one is still pretty easy for us. It's a tiny bit harder than the Articuno one because Palkia EX can one-shot both Dialga and Arceus with its move, but since running capes to combat this and Ramparados, if you have cape, you're going to be able to tank that in 1 hit, even if they get super lucky with Misty. And most of the time, they're not going to get 4 energy super fast. Misty is only a 50% chance to get 1 heads, and then 25% to get 2, 12.5% for 3, so on and so on. By the time they get a Misty off and a Dimensional Storm off, we probably have our Turbocharge off, so we can swing with Dialga and then swing with Arceus. And that 30 plus 130 is enough to one-shot Palkia. If they have a cape, it's all good. We can just kill it next turn. And then the thing with Palkia is that it discards all of its energy, so all the investment is immediately gone after it uses that attack. They don't really have a backup plan for their second Palkia once their first one drops, and we have plenty of backup plan if we use our Turbocharge correctly. Another easy matchup. Arceus EX and Crobat, so this can either mean the Heatran variant or the Darkrai variant, or I think the Darkrai variant is listed separately down there sometimes. I think both are fairly easy matchups. You know, you get punished a little bit by attacking the Heatran, especially because your Dialga EX is weak to fire, but you're going to be able to get a charge off, or probably even 2 charges off if you don't mind your Dialga dying, because the Heatran also takes 2 energy, And then their backup plan, or their game plan, is to find Crobats plus find energy onto Arceus, which takes a long time. They're pretty much a worse version of our deck. You know, they have the added poke from Crobat, but they need so much ramp compared to us, because for them to swing on Dialga with Heatran, right, they need to invest 2 fire energy onto Heatran, and then they need to start stacking on Arceus. By our 3rd energy, we can already attack with Arceus. They need at least 4. Usually it's 5, right? They can do it with 4 if they have a Dawn, by moving the Heatran to the back and then Dawning energy over, but usually it's going to take 4 turns. But usually it's going to take 5 turns, so I think it's a good matchup for us. Anything that is long scaling and can't just one-shot us like Charizard can is going to be a pretty good matchup for us. I don't think the Crobat poke is enough, neither is the Darkrai enough to one-shot our Pokemon, so I think we're good on this one. Infernape EX, Arceus EX, same idea with the Heatran. This one, even more emphasis on that, and then the Infernape can come in to surprise, hit you for a big. By the time Infernape comes out, you have enough energy on your ramp, and then to top it off, Infernape has to discard 2, so they have nothing to invest on their Arceus. So we win late game hard. If we can survive the first hits, we're usually good to go. Gallade and Hitmonlee. So Gallade finally has the one deck that it's really good against, because 1, Arceus is normal, weak to fighting, but 2, these guys actually keep their energy on, right? Unlike Mewtwo, who discards his energy after attacking, Infernape even discards, Charizard discards, all of our big attackers, Palkia, even Gyarados, right, discard their energy, which means the Gallade's effect is slightly less worth it. You know, the bonus attack is lowered because we have less energy attached, but our guys keep 3 or 4 energy on, so susceptible to Gallade. The thing is, Gallade is a stage 2, so they have to get to that, and once you get through 1 Gallade, you usually win the game. It's at a 47% win rate. Also, people aren't really playing this deck, so it's a losing matchup for sure, but I don't think it's that losing compared to Rampardos, where Rampardos can just one-shot us on a, like, Gallade EX is an EX, right? So if we take it down, that's 2 points. Rampardos can one-shot on a 1-point Pokemon. That's why it makes it so deadly as well. Gallade also has to invest 2 fighting energy, so the same play is the Hitmonlee into the Cyrus onto our Arceus, but they need 1+2 energy there and to find all their pieces, so still losing. Again, the same advice, run the Potion plus the Shaman to avoid that Hitmonlee check. And if they don't hit Hitmonlee plus their pieces, you're good to go. Palkia and Vaporeon, we have a 54% win rate into. Same idea with the Palkia, so they need to ramp with Manaphy, which means we get a ramp with Dialga and Arceus. So, you know, if they one-shot, they're not going to be able to kill our Dialga until they one-shot with Palkia. They have to expend 3 energy, so they need to either... And at that point, we're strong enough to clear the board with Arceus, right? Because they need to charge with Manaphy enough so that Palkia can get 2 Dimensional Storms off to win the game, right? We can even knock out Manaphy with 2 of the Dialga attacks, unless they have a cape. And we have a Giovanni as well, if they do have a cape. So that gives us plenty of room to work around with multiple Arceuses, or a Mew EX, which also one-shots Palkia. You know, Arceus can't one-shot Palkia from the get-go, but Mew EX always can with the genome hacking. So we can even charge twice, or we can just go for a blitz one-shot. But basically, you want to bait out the Palkia and then Mew EX later after the turn, and then the game's over. I think this is a pretty hard winning matchup. It should be a higher win rate, honestly. Articuno Palkia. So I haven't actually seen much of this played. It's literally just Articuno and Palkia it's the 2 trainer idea, or the 18 trainer idea with only 16 trainers and more Articuno and Palkia. So let's see, right? Let's see, best finishes. Ursaday, 40th place. It's not too high. Let's look at this one, right? It's 2 Articuno, 1 Palkia. Yeah, that makes sense. So same idea with the 2 Articuno, right? You get enough time to ramp, and they have to be super, super lucky with the Misty to beat you, because otherwise you're just getting free time to ramp with Dialga and Arceus. Weavile Darkrai. So Weavile plus Darkrai, the combo deals 20 plus 70, 90 damage, and then 70 per turn after that. Just not enough to kill off your Dialga before you're able to evolve into Arceus. And then if you have the Giovanni, you can one-shot both Weavile and Darkrai. Their late game is also just terrible compared to ours. So if you can survive a Dialga charge, you're good to go, and you can almost always survive a Dialga charge with this, right? The thing with like Dialga Yanmega before, right, is that you had to invest an energy per turn onto Yanmega because the air cutter dealt that much damage, but it cost 1 energy discard every time. With Arceus, you don't need to discard energy at all. It's just straight up better, and you don't even have to evolve it. So our late game just got better because we can just stack onto the Dialga we swapped out for a 4-cost 100 attack, or another Dialga, or a Mew EX. So that's why this deck is so much good. It is so much better than the Mega variant, and even Probopass as well. Gyarados, so this is only a 51% matchup. This is because I think if they get lucky with Misty and they Greninja you, they can one-shot your Arceus before you can ramp. If you have to beat into Dredagon, and then they can Greninja you down and then hit you with a Greninja attack instead of a Gyarados, they'll get you there. Also, Gyarados is 180 health, so we need 2 hits from Arceus. I'm honestly surprised this matchup is this low. Another thing they can do is just attach Water Energy to Dredagon and then Irida it for 40 health, but you can one-shot Dredagon with Arceus. But then you have to take 20 damage on your Arceus, right? Which is not very good. I can definitely see like games where you lose this for sure, but I still think this is a winning matchup overall. You're able to ramp up since Gyarados needs 4 unless they Misty and high roll, but that can happen with any water deck, right? On average luck, I think you win this matchup. Magnezone Skarmory, this is an like Executor deck, an anti-Fossil deck. It's good against basic Pokemon with low health, right? And our basic Pokemon are 150 and 140, so this is not for us to worry about. Super easy matchup for us. Skarmory is going to take 50 health from us on Dialga every turn, but that leaves us 3 turns. We can use Turbocharge in 2, so we're good to go. Magnezone also can't one-shot our Pokemon. It has to do it with the Skarmory attack together, and then Potions can also just heal that away. Shaman as well. Darkrai Greninja, even higher win rate, like way higher win rate than against the Gyarados, because you get a free charge, and then if you have the Shaman, you absolutely dumpster this deck, right? You're healing away all that poke, and then even if they get the Greninja and the Darkrai attack, you know, you have so much HP, and you have all the energy to play with, you can just run through everything. Dialga Mew, this is just a worse version of your deck. That's really it, right? And this might also just be an error on the data tracking site. Pachirisu EX, you have a 65% win rate into this because Pachirisu only deals 80. And so Shaman plus Potion, you know, they can't even one-shot your Dialga, or they can't even two-shot your Dialga if you have a single Potion. Or Giant Cape as well. And they need 2 energy to attack, so you have plenty of time to Dialga into Arceus. Arceus one-shots Pachirisu from the get-go unless they have a Giant Cape. Then you have the Giovanni for that if you run that, or if you draw that, and you don't even need it, honestly, because you'll be able to swing on Pachirisu twice in almost every game. Arceus Greninja, so I think this list is, let's see. This is a Dredagon Heatran stall list. This is really interesting, but I don't see how it's very good. Okay, it runs fire and water, so you can attack with Dredagon, actually. That's pretty cool. I don't know why the win rate is so low against this. I feel like it should be higher. Yeah, this one runs Tauros, the EX killer. But like basically you just ramp up Arceus on the back line and then have Greninja as well to poke down. It's similar to the Darkrai Greninja deck, but without the active poke from Darkrai. But then you have an actual finisher. So Arceus plus Greninja is going to one-shot all of your Pokemon. They have a Dredagon you have to attack through as well. I still think it's a winning matchup because you have plenty of time to ramp. If you're not super unlucky, you'll be able to run through this pretty easily. The idea behind this deck, right, is that you have to beat through the Dredagon, which is not an EX, and then probably the Greninja, right? They'll put in next, and they can maybe attack with Greninja, usually just stack on Arceus. But you only have 2 Pokemon to play through because all your Pokemon are EXs, while they have 3 to play through, since Greninja's a basic, so that's their advantage there, and that's why the Rampardos matchup is so bad, right? That's why the Rampardos matchup is so bad, right? We have to kill 3 Pokemon, they only have to kill 2. But I think this is winning. It should be higher, honestly. Lucario Rampardos already talked about. Palkia Articuno already talked about. Okay, yeah, it's just rearranged. But see, this is 65% win rate. This is less, it's just sample size. I think that matchup is hard winning for us. Garchomp and Lucario. So this is another fighting deck, but we have a much higher chance to win this than the other fighting decks. One, I don't think Lucario and Garchomp is good. I think you should be running Garchomp and the other Garchomp, or Garchomp and Aerodactyl, or Garchomp and Fighting Toolkit. I think there's just too many cooks in the kitchen with Lucario, and then if you run Lucario, there is no backup plan once your Garchomp dies, whereas if you run like Aerodactyl, there is a much better backup plan to clear the base. You can check out my latest TikTok on Garchomp for more reasoning on why that is. So we have a high win rate into Garchomp because, one, we can heal through the 50 plus 100 damage that they deal. Most of the time, you know, we do have a weakness to Garchomp, but they need 3 energy to activate that, plus the stage 2. And even then, they can't one-shot us with that. So they have to commit a linear attack with Garchomp already on the field, plus a Dragon Claw onto our Arceus to win that, to one-shot or to two-shot our Pokemon. It's not even a one-shot, right, compared to Rampardos. So we have plenty of time to scale up and run through the Gabite, the Gible, anything they have. And then once the Garchomp drops, Lucario is nothing to us. So hard winning matchup there. Arceus Magnezone, same idea with any other Magnezone deck. They want to scale, we want to scale, we scale harder. Starmie Palkia, I don't see anyone playing this anymore, and it says we have a losing matchup because Starmie can two-shot our Dialga, and if they get lucky with Misty, then it's pretty bad for us because they can just run through our team. But by the time they hit us with Starmie, we'll be able to have an Arceus on the board. I believe Starmie is 130, so it does get one shot by the Arceus, unless they have a giant cape. So honestly, this win rate should be higher. I'm pretty sure it's just low sample size. We can just one-shot the Starmie once they get through us. Infernape Moltres, again, same reasoning for the Infernape deck earlier, except now they have to swap between Moltres and Infernape. They don't get the free swap from Heatran, so even worse. Yanmega and Leafeon, I think the Celebi version is better. You know, much better scaling, and they have less scaling than us here. And we can usually just tap through Yanmega pretty easily. You know, Yanmega is 140, so it survives the Arceus unless you have a Giovanni. But by the time they get to Yanmega, like, we're usually good. Finally, Probopass Dialga is literally just the worst version of our deck. They can get Probopass out, but our Arceus can two-shot it. So yeah, I think we have pretty much all winning matchups except against Fighting. So Fighting is going to be Rampardos, and then also we have to watch out for Sudowoodo, who can two-shot the Arceus on 1 energy. But you're not usually, like, that's only going to happen if you break with Arceus and don't draw into Dialga at all. I think every other matchup for this deck is either winning or hard winning, so definitely top of the meta. Does get Rock, Paper, Scissors by Fighting. You know, the Rampardos Lucario is the biggest offender. Gallade is up there as well, but I think Rampardos is a lot harder to deal with. So if you want to counter this deck, run Rampardos, but this deck still has a much higher win rate against literally any other deck. If you look at Rampardos, right, it has a 63% against Dialga, but so many negatives after that, right? It's going to beat Leafeon because it can just one-shot everything, but beats Charizard because it one-shot everyone else as well. But all these other, like, basic decks, it's going to lose to. But yeah, let's look at some replays. First matchup, we open with Arceus EX, Dialga EX, and Mew in hand. So I'm going to play off the Dialga and the Arceus. That brings me down to 3 cards, so I don't have to worry about a red card or Mars. They are Dark Energy, and they play the Arceus EX, so they're playing the Crobat and probably the Darkrai variant. Some speed up in here. So they research Pokeball, and then they find the Zubat, so their first piece. I've drawn a Cyrus, and I have Pokeball and Research. So here I have the decision whether or not to Ball first, and then Research, or Research and then Ball. I already have the Mew EX in hand, so I don't need to find 2 new Pokemon to fulfill the Arceus requirement. I only need 1, so I just Ball first. Gives me a higher chance of getting the items that I want. So we do get a Rocky Helmet, which is usually nice, not doing anything this matchup though, because they're not going to attack us until Arceus EX or Golbat. I mean, there's a chance they or a Crobat, there's a chance they swap into Golbat and Swing though if we don't Rocky Helmet, so I just play the Rocky Helmet. Definitely debatable to play that helmet or not there, but I did want to free up the space for the red card, and I also don't want to play the Dialga immediately in case 1, it's better to have 2 Arceus on the bench than 2 Dialga, just more damage output there, and 2, in case we draw to Shaman, you'd rather have Shaman than either of those. So they Sabrina us, and we swap into the Mew because Mew only has a 1 retreat, while the other 2 have 2. So we draw in a Cape. Then I play an Energy on Dialga and pass because I don't have a Leaf. They top deck Crobat, so pretty good draws for them. they hit us for the 30. And then cape up the Arceus, so we draw an energy, or we draw and then place an energy to swap in Dialga. And then we are just going to Dialga our Arceus with energy. And the thing here is we actually got punished for playing the helmet over cape because they have the Crobat, right? So Crobat's going to deal 30 damage to us, and then the Arceus, if they have 3 bench slots, can deal 130. So they research, and it looks like they don't draw into a third Pokemon, so they can't one-shot us there. So instead they decide to swap into Crobat. I think at this point, they just lose the game if they don't have the one-shot there. So I actually should have just not played the helmet, but I have no idea. I have no way of knowing I'm going to draw into a cave, right? So pretty lucky for us there that they don't have a third Pokemon on the bench. If they didn't, though, I mean, we already hit the Arceus, right? So next turn, we're going to kill the Arceus in retaliation. So I think we still win this game. You know, we can one-shot the Crobat that goes in, the Arceus that goes in, so still won for us there. Alright, here's a replay against a Garchomp deck. So we opened with Mew EX, and they opened with Gible. We have Mew EX and 2 Pokeballs, so if we had an extra turn before this, we'd be a lot happier. Unfortunately, we have a Leaf, so we can swap it out and play for Dialga on turn 2, given we hit it. I end up playing the 2 Pokeballs first and then the research, so there's a world where you want to research first and then do the 2 Pokeballs. That will guarantee you the 3 backline Pokemon for Arceus. I don't think it's necessary, though, for the Garchomp matchup specifically. Like, you're not reaching an extra breakpoint by getting that extra 20 damage, I believe. So we get Serenade, and that helps us, honestly. I mean, we're going to have to take 30 from the Dialga, but they have no way of one-shotting us even if they hit Garchomp next turn. So they're playing a Lucario variant, and I explained why I don't think the Lucario variant is very good already on my short as well, and this video too. So we just play Cape in case, you know, our Dialga's going to be taking for at least another shot. And that's going to leave us, like, give us less susceptibility to poke from Gabite plus another... Oh, actually, what this gives us is if they evolve into Lucario, and then we're going to take 70 damage, and then 2 70s would kill Dialga with this cape, but if they Dragon Clawed us and then Cyrus, a Dragon Claw plus Lucario plus 2 Lucarios would actually, I don't know. Yeah, a Dragon Claw plus a Lucario would one-shot us if we didn't cape here, because we'd be at 120 health. 100 plus 20 is 120. So that's if they had a Cyrus and a Lucario, or a Garchomp later in the game. And actually, straight up here, right? No, they need 3 energy, but you get the idea. And then they concede because we already have Arceus on the bench. We're just going to steamroll through them, and they assume they just didn't find the Garchomp because they only have 1 card in their hand. Let's take a look at a mirror match. So I open with Shaman and no other Pokemon, which is really, really not what you want, right? And I think at this time I'm trying out the list with 2 Shamans in it. So actually a pretty high chance of us breaking that way. They open with double Arceus, and they're playing Steel, so they have the Dialga as well. We draw into our other Shaman, we play it down, and we just have to sit here, honestly. It's worth stacking a metal on one of the Shamans because we have Dawn. I think, let's see what we do here. I would just put it on the front, so then I can swap it out. I mean, they're not going to deal any damage to us anytime soon. They're playing Dialga, so they need 2 energy to start dealing damage to us, and it's never going to one-shot our Shaman, so we can just heal away whatever happens there. And if we really wanted to conserve the energy, we could leave and then Dawn. But we get to the Dialga EX, and then I decide to just start stacking on Dialga. No point in moving this fast. It doesn't make a difference because they're not going to attack us either way. And then I am going to switch into Dialga. Now, I do have to note that they are able to swing for us next turn. They can swing 110 on us. If they get another Pokemon, it'll be 130. But even with the Giovanni, they're never gonna be able to one-shot Dialga. But the problem is they have the helmet. So that brings us down to 130 health, and then we're in one-shot range if they have another Pokemon. That's why I have to use Cape here. With Cape, I'm able to survive no matter what. So I attach onto my Arceus, and then next turn I can swing for 130. Even if they have a potion, they can't Cape, so even if they have a potion, their Arceus is gonna fall to my Arceus. If they have 2 potions though, it will survive. Unless I have a Giovanni. So they don't have it. And then we don't have a leaf, but we can heal. Doesn't matter though, because we can just swap into Arceus and play for the one-shot. And at this point, we have 3 energy on the field. They have 0 once the Arceus falls, and it's just game over from there. You know, they get 2 turns of stalling, or like however many Pokemon they have, swap around, but even then, right, those 2 Pokemon are Dialga and Arceus are 2 retreats, so looks like they just rage quit. Or the timer decided for them to play a Dialga EX again. They got the full house, but it is what it is. No extra points for them. GG's. We can just swing with 130 every turn from there on, and yeah. That's just how it goes in the mirror match, you know? Second player is definitely an advantage because neither of you guys are evolving anything. But it's also just whoever gets Dialga out first and can attack first with it. Really. That's where stuff like Sabrina and Cyrus is gonna come into play as well in the mirror match. Yeah, so they Cyrus us and they force us to swap into Dialga. And at this point, let's see, right? So I'm at 2 energy and now I can't attack. So this is where the Cyrus came in, right? Because the Arceus takes 3 energy to attack. So I end up having to... What happened here? I wasn't paying attention. So I have 3 energy on Arceus here. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I see what happened. So I retreated with the Dialga earlier, right? Using its energy because I didn't have a leaf. So now I have 0 energy on Dialga. I get Cyrused in, so that just disrupts my play, right? That stalls them for another turn or 2. But I already have a Dawn in my hand, so I Dawn an energy from the Arceus onto Dialga, and that means I can use the 30 damage attack, and the next turn I can one-shot them with the 130, unless they have a potion. So they leaf it out into their 160 health Arceus, and then I have a Cyrus in hand, so just gonna retreat, Cyrus it in, and end the game here with the ultimate force, 130 damage. There we go. That's a mirror match for you. A lot of mirror matches are gonna look like that. It's just you guys swinging on each other over and over again, and the supporters you draw into are gonna be key. Here's a game against some Magnezone players, so I opened with Arceus EX, and 3 supporters here, Research into a Research Pokeball. And not a great start, of course. We want Dialga as much as possible. They are playing a Magnezone Arceus deck. So we use our second Research here, and then attach onto Arceus, because we don't have a Dialga to play around. I do run XP in this variant because I'm running the 2 Shamans. So that helps a little bit if we run into Dialga later, but at this point, right, we're so far from hitting a Dialga and using it for a tempo that it's better for us to just focus on getting our bench full and use the ultimate force for swinging. So I'm fine with just stacking onto Arceus. I have 2 Shamans at this point. I have a potion in hand, I have a cape, so I don't mind having Arceus be a main tank. And since I'm playing against Arceus and Magnezone, I'm fine with playing the helmet here. The one stipulation is if they have a Giovanni, they can actually one-shot me, so I have to be careful about that. In hindsight, maybe you play cape there just because of that. Because honestly, you don't need... I mean, helmet is really nice here because the extra 20 damage lets you one-shot from 130, which is your max, without Giovanni. So, actually very nice. We draw into a Dialga, which is actually kind of fairly lucky because we already burned 2 Research and 1 Pokeball, so we had, what? 1 Arceus, 2 Dialgas left in the deck, 3 Pokemon out of however many cards are left, but we already drew a lot of cards, so. And then we can heal twice with the Shamans, value of 1 potion, I use a potion as well. And the thing is here, we have a decision, right? We either just swing for the point with Arceus, or we retreat and try to get it to safety. But the thing is, like, if they have any Cyrus, they're just going to attach an energy to the Magnet Zone and kill us with Cyrus. So I don't think there's a point. I think it's better for us to just use the tempo. And so they have an Arceus that's going to attack us for 70 plus 20 plus 20. And we really see that the helmet is paying dividends for us, right? It dealt 20 to the Magnet Zone, and now it dealt 20 to the Arceus. So it's a little riskier than the cape. Like, the cape is accounting for a possible Giovanni, but... So this is a list where I was actually running Mars because I had the deck slots for it. And this is actually one of the very few times where Mars is really good. I think Mars is actually good in this deck because we only really run EXs, right? That our only Pokemon that are going to be dying are EXs. And so there's a pretty good chance we'll go to Mars where they already have the 2 points once our first EX falls, and then we force them to draw into only 1 card. Luckily for them, they draw into a research, so pretty much our Mars is kind of nullified, honestly. And they're going to be able to swing with the Arceus this turn, but we have a Leaf in hand, so we can escape. We got 20 heals as well, but if they have a Cyrus at this point, we're pretty doomed. We can swing for 30 and then charge, and then we have the Dawn play for the 100 damage next turn. That's going to be lethal onto the Arceus, and that's going to get us our 2 points. We just have to pray that they have no Cyrus here, otherwise, because then at that point we lose the game. And they only have 2 cards, so Dawn was really nice here. And they already used a Cyrus on us earlier, right? Or was that a different game? Was that the last game? Maybe it was. So they have Zone here, which is good for them because, you know, I can't one-shot Zone with the Dialga. And so what happens here, I think I just concede, yeah. It's GG. If they didn't have a zone there to evolve into, they would have lost the game from 100 swings. If they tried to swap in the Arceus and one-shot us with that. But since they have the zone, they can just clear us that way, and it's GG's. Here's a quicker match against the Leafeon deck. So we open with Dialga EX and open with Eevee. We have no other Pokemon, but we went first, so we have 3 other turns to find on their Pokemon to charge onto. They Pokeball, and they have no more cards to Pokeball, so that means they have all 4 Pokemon, all basics in their hand. They play the whole family out, and they drop an Eevee, or they drop a Water Energy on Eevee. So it's really good that I played that helmet as a heads-up play, because now they won't swing on us with the Eevee. So it saves us 20 HP. We don't draw any Pokemon, unfortunately, so... What I do is I Serena here, because this forces them, if they have a Leafeon in hand, this is going to force them to use an X-Speed or a Leaf, which a lot of these decks aren't running. You know, the list I posted doesn't run a Leaf or an X-Speed, so I'm going to Serena them, and then that forces them to swap in another Pokemon. They're going to swap in the other Eevee, which they can evolve into Leafeon if they have it. But they already burnt 4 cards, so I don't even think they have Leafeon at this point. But if they did have Leafeon, they could... What they could do is they could evolve into Leafeon and then attach an energy plus the turn energy with Leafeon's passive, but they only have 2 energy there, so they can't attack us yet. So that's why we Sabrina, because if they had a Leafeon, then they could attack us starting from there, and then we might be in a little trouble. Because that would... The thing with Leafeon, though, is it only deals 70 damage for the 3 energy, so they have to hit us 3 times, and they're taking 20 hits of... They're taking a hit of 20 from Rocky Helmet every time, so, you know, that's why this matchup is so winning for us, unless they have a Giovanni, which they probably don't. We finally find our other basic. It's unfortunately Mew EX and not Arceus, so that kind of sucks, but we're just going to turbo it, attach the energy. And we have a Dawn, so from this point on, right, I'm just playing for the Dialga attack, and I know that, you know, even if they swapped into Celebi, Leafeon can't one-shot me from here. It's going to take 2 hits, so I know I'm good for a while. And I can just play for a Dialga playthrough. If they attack me with this Eevee again, it's going to die from the thing, so they read it for the heal. And then, looks like they still don't have Leafeon, so they just swing on me for the extra damage. and they start stacking onto their Celebi. If they're Leafeon, I think I still win this game just based on my tempo here. And just how tanky Dialga EX is. I found another Dialga, so I end up just saving the Dawn and then charging again. Because no point not doing that. And then they concede, they just don't find the Leafeon. Even if they got really lucky now, at this point, I have another energy plus a Dawn playthrough for the other Dialga to run some 100 damages, so I think it's pretty wild for us from here. And if we got Arceus at any point in this game, we one-shot the Celebi immediately, so yeah, super easy matchup for us. This was a bit of a crazy game. This is Dialga, Arceus, Mew against a water deck that opens with Eevee. So as soon as I say water, right, I'm thinking, okay, it's probably Palkia, Articuno, or Gyarados, and Palkia and Gyarados are really good matchups for Mew, so I'm gonna play Mew in the back. You know, I can hold out Dialga in my hand in case I draw an Arceus and a Shaman. I don't want to play a second Dialga there to clog up my bench. But I know I'm probably going to play towards a Mew EX here. They cape their Palkia, and then they have an Eevee with the Rocky Helmet. We don't attack for 2 turns anyway, so really nothing to do here. We play the Dialga anyway, in case of red card. Honestly, you don't need to. Most people aren't running red card or Mars, but, you know, we saw it before, so might as well. And they just stack an energy, they don't swing. There's no point in them swinging, honestly. I guess they could swing with the continuous steps there because of the Vaporeon. Honestly, they should have just done that. You know, it's a 50% chance of dealing damage, but it could be a lot if they just flip every heads, you know? We found our Arceus, and then from here, I charge on to the... So, they already evolved in Eevee, so if they leave the Eevee in, right, I'm going to get a point, and then killing the Palkia will get the win there. So, and then I can just kill it with another Metallic Turbo. So that's my thought process here. I end up charging the Arceus because they're not going to follow the Palkia until they have Dimensional Storm, and they can one-shot our Pokemon. And so, you know, it's better to have the Arceus first, and then charge it up again next turn, charge up the Mew, so then we have that battery later. Because at this point, we need the Arceus to one-shot everyone else. You know, if you charge up Mew and they just put in someone else, Mew's not gonna be able to one-shot anyone until the Palkia comes out. So you Arceus first and then Mew. And then I get surprised here. They are actually playing a Glaceon deck with Vaporeon and the Palkia. Glaceon is gonna hit us for 10 damage every turn. Both their turn and our turn, and then they read it for the full heal. At this point, I think I make a mistake here. I think that I can one-shot Glaceon with 130, but it's 140. So I'm just not... I've literally never battled against Glaceon before, other than the AI, and I just had to solo do it, or the auto do that. So, yeah, I'm like, wait, what? I thought I one-shot this thing, but I don't. But at this point, I can't get one-shot yet. You know, if they Misty us, though, and they get 4 energy onto... You know, if they get an extra energy from Misty, then we're pretty screwed. They can hit us with the Dimensional Storm. But we do have the Mew EX charged as a backup, so I don't think we're that screwed, honestly. Actually, no, we don't have the Mew EX screwed as a backup. And so they hit a ridiculous 3 heads on Misty. And at this point, we really just want to be stacking energy on the Mew. So, honestly, I shouldn't have swung onto the Glaceon at this point. I should have used another charge, and then charge the Mew EX, and then we have that backup tool plus the Arceus to play around. But I really thought that I would be able to one-shot the Glaceon for some reason with 130, even though it's 140 health. If I had a Giovanni, it would have one-shot, but they make the toss of their life. I really think they should just be swapping into Palkia and immediately using the Storm. And then, you know, they would be left with 2 energy. They can stack for 2 more turns, then I think they win the game from there. But they're just going to swing with Glaceon, which I think is a big mistake, because they're losing 3 energy next turn once I kill this Glaceon. So I decide, I have a Dawn in my hand that I just drew. So what I can do is I can attach an energy onto a Dialga EX and then Dawn the other one over to kill the Glaceon. And then that leaves us with, you know, that's going to tank the helmet as well. So we're going to take 20 on the Dialga, but I can just attach to Mew now. And so next turn when they swap in the Palkia to attack us with the Dimensional Storm, I can just copy it with Palkia and then with Mew. And then they're not going to have enough damage to kill through Mew until, like, we're going to be able to attack the Mew again, or the Palkia again with Mew, before they can Storm us again, because they are going to have 1 energy left, because it discards 3. And so I think they Rage Quit for a bit, or disconnect, I don't know what happens here, but they decide not to move here. But even if they did move here, oh, I think they came back, attached an energy and decided not to. I don't know what happened here. But even if they did attack here, right? We were able to just Mew next turn, they're out of energy, and then we win the game. And I'm holding the 2 potions here, because the Dimensional Storm is going to deal 20 damage to all of our bench. So what they could have done is they could have Cyrused, and I would have gotten punished for holding the potions on there if they had a Cyrus. But it looks like they didn't, so another mistake for me, I should have potioned the Arceus because they can Cyrus and then the Palkia will deal 30 damage. But I think at any case that at any point they had Cyrus, right? And they had a they had an X speed maybe, but no. I should have just potioned for sure. So lots to learn from my side and their side as well. They Arita and then they use the Storm. But at this point, I think it's still pretty bad for me, right? You know, now they have 2 energy left. So I have a timer of 2 turns to win the game. And really all I can do is build another Dialga. So I should have just, I mean, I made a mistake of not calculating the Glaceon HP correctly in the first place. If I had just Dialga twice, I probably would have won this game way earlier. They attach their 3rd energy and don't swing, because they don't really have a way to. I mean, we have the helmet, so they don't want to take more damage. And then I draw into a Giovanni, very lucky that I draw into that, because then my Metallic is going to deal 40, and then they're going to take 40 damage if they don't have a potion or an Arita, and they just Storm us here with the Vaporeon ability. It's actually going to tie, because my helmet's going to hit them for 20, and our Dialga's going to die from the Storm. So we actually get an epic showdown of Dialga versus Palkia, and they both die. Cinema. Replay. This is like some anime stuff right here. The prophecy foretold, but yep, their Palkia's gonna take out our Dialga, and then Dialga's gonna take out Palkia at the same time. So that's a tie. That's literally my first tie of ever playing this game, because I just don't play like Drotagon and Rocket Combat ever. So that was cool. That was a fun match. Lots of mistakes from both of us there. I think if I just didn't miscalculate or know the Glaceon health, then I would have been fine earlier. These are the Leafeon match where they actually get to the Leafeon. So I have one with Shaman and 2 researches. Not a great start. You really want Dialga as fast as possible. And I don't have a Leaf either to get out of this, or an X speed or anything like that. I researched into 2... Well, let me mute myself. I researched into 2 Arceuses. Not what we want to see, right? We want to see Dialga, and they immediately find the Leafeon. But thankfully for us, right? If they went second, right, and then evolved in Leafeon the next turn, then they could actually start swinging, and they can one-shot our Shaman here. But they only can generate 2 energy here this turn, so we're good to go. We really need an escape plan for the Shaman, or just to sacrifice it, and I think that's what ends up happening here. So I find Dialga too late. I already have energy down on Arceus, so there's no point in trying to charge it there. And then I play a Shaman here, in case we get Sabrina. Take that there. And then I just sacrifice 1 Shaman here. You know, there's even like a argument to sacrifice. Like, we have 2 Shamans to sacrifice, because I'm running 2 still at this point. And then I play the other Dialga to buff up the Arceus the whole way. And then I have a Giovanni, 140 damage, 1-shots a Leafeon there, and that's pretty much game, right? You can just attack through the EV next turn. If they evolve into Leafeon, you know, we can still survive that, attack it twice. And then at that point, we have time to charge up another Arceus or Dialga. They don't have a Leafeon, so we can just attack and win the game so they can concede. Here's one of my tournament rounds against Charizard. So this is a really rough matchup, as I said before, if you don't have the Mew EX. And when I was playing the tournament, I didn't have the Mew EX, I had 2 Shaymins, so I want to try that out. But this really taught me to run the 1 copy of Mew EX. So I opened with Dialga and a Pokeball, pretty good start for us. And they go first, so that means they're going to be able to find Charizard really fast. If they get lucky enough, or like not terribly unlucky with their Moltres, that means they can actually use Charizard on... If they get super lucky, they can use Charizard on turn 3. With like a Leaf plus the Moltres luck. Or just Moltres luck straight up. You know, if they generate enough 4 for Charizard and they can just attach 2 turn energy to Moltres, they can start Charizarding us from turn 3, which is really bad for us. Because Charizard is going to one-shot us no matter what, through all the Shaymins, through all the Giant Capes. We draw both Shaymins here. But honestly, Shaymin is pretty useless in this matchup. They're not attacking us at all, actually, until Charizard. Because Moltres is just going to ramp for free, so... They hit their Charmander, bad news for us. And I know they're not running a red card or Mars, because I can see the tournament list. In these tournaments, you have to share your list with the other person. Turbo onto Arceus, but, you know, they find the Charizard. Pretty lucky for them, right? They found all the evolution pieces there, and they're free to Moltres again. I'm going to be able to one-shot with Arceus next turn, but then if I put in Arceus, I'm going to get taken out by Charizard, and then I have a 2-turn timer where they're going to regenerate their energy and one-shot me, so... at this point, I get stuck by playing 2 Shaymins. I have, like, kind of a chance at this game if I played another Arceus and then charged again. So, I made a mistake there, but, like, I also didn't know I would have been able to draw that Arceus EX, and I wanted the energy, you know? I ended up making a mistake anyway. My mouse slipped, I think, and I put the energy on Dialga, so I don't one-shot the Moltres. And then what they do is they just stack energy and win the game, so it's GG from there. We can't play because as soon as this Charizard comes in, it's just going to one-shot us twice, so that's GG's. Couple mistakes there. I end up winning the next round against them. So they just brick and they don't find Charmander at all. They have the first attack on us because they went second. We find Dialga. And we have 2 Arceus in hand plus the Shaymin. So we can hide our Arceus until now. Now we can play everything. Turbo it. No need to play the other Arceus in case we get 2 Shaymins. Because now at this point they're actually going to attack us with Moltres. Which isn't going to one-shot us. But we'll deal damage to us, and we can heal that away. So yeah, Cape down, Moltres attacks, take a good chunk of damage, but we can potion this, plus Shaymin it away, leaf it onto Arceus, swing with Arceus for 130. I actually Cape here and then potion again, so that's gonna prevent against Cyrus. It's gonna prevent us getting one-shotted by Cyrus there. At this point, it's over. Because we can heal here with Shaymin, and then we have another Dialga plus a Arceus to play around. They can actually one-shot us with Giovanni here, but they don't have a Giovanni, they're playing Charizard. And we know they don't have a Giovanni, so we're good to go. And that's GG's there. Next turn. I'm losing the next round, but like either of these rounds, right? I run 1 Shaymin, 1 Mew now, right? If I packed a Mew and I just charged it with Dialga instead, I would have won this match. Simply because of that threat. So that's why I run Mew, guys. Alright, here's one last replay where we just get absolutely rolled by fighting. A real fighting deck as well. Well, kind of. The most popular one is going to be the Rampardos in tournaments, and that does one-shot us with the Evolve, so... This is they open with Sudowoodo, and they're playing a Sudowoodo Lucario deck. We open with Mew EX and Arceus EX, so already pretty bad start. We need a Leaf plus Dialga here to save our game. We had the 2 Dialgas, no sign of Leaf though. So if we get a Leaf, we can just swap into Dialga and start stacking there, but we always need to be cognizant, right? This Sudowoodo will deal 20 plus 30 because we're against EXs, so, or because it deals 30 more damage against EXs, so it's gonna deal 50. If they get a Lucario, it'll be 70 per hit. They find another Riolu and the Lucario already, so, you know, if it was only 50, they need 3 hits from you, but since they already found the Lucario and the Sudowoodo, they can hit us, they can 2-shot our Mew. That's also going to 2-shot our Arceus. So, I draw and then I research into the Leafs. Way too late for the Leafs, because now I can't use them, so I end up just swapping out the Mew to save a life here, because I know I'm going to use a charge next turn. And so I don't mind having the Sudowoodo or the Dialga tank 1 hit. It's probably gonna die. I don't mind leaving it to die next turn, because then we can actually play through Arceus or Mew EX. The thing is here, they hit another Lucario, so the game is just completely over for us, and the Marshadow. So we have no way to counter this because Marshadow is gonna deal 40 damage base plus 60 if we knocked out their active last turn, plus 20 from Lucarios. So that's going to one-shot Arceus, because it also has the plus 20 damage from the weakness, so that's 160 on Arceus. So that's even going to one-shot us with Cape, and that's also going to one-shot full health Arceus, full health Mew, literally everyone. So once I see that, it's just GG's. Like, cannot play. You know, I don't think this matchup is even that bad, because if I just opened with Dialga, got decent luck and opened with Dialga, or got a Leaf there, like, we can actually play the game and play through Arceus here. Maybe play through multiple Arceuses, but it is what it is. GG's. Because we wouldn't have to have spent an energy to retreat the Mew. We wouldn't be able to get 2 charges off on each Arceus, and at that point, we can swap out, and then hit through there. Because really, their only threats are Sudowoodo and Marshadow. Once Sudowoodo and Marshadow fall, the Lucario doesn't deal that much damage. So we're gonna go there. But it is what it is. GG's. The Rampardos matchup is a lot more rough than this one, but this one's still pretty rough. Going through Sudowoodo there. One final replay for y'all. This is against another Arceus Crobat, Darkrai as well. So they open with Darkrai and then the helmet. And we open with Dialga and Arceus, so great hand for us. Just missing 1 Pokemon to put down for the Arceus full effect. We also have the Giovanni, so this is just showing off the value of Giovanni, right? Earlier we one-shot a Leafeon with it, now we're able to one-shot a Darkrai with it, since they already placed down a helmet instead of Cape. So if you're playing a Darkrai against this deck, be careful, and maybe you want to run Cape and play it here, because you're under that threat of Giovanni. It is rare, right? Most people run 0 or 1, but it can happen. So, you know, the value of helmet here is really good for them. So I don't blame it at all for running helmet. Honestly, I probably would too, because I'm forced to attack for the charge. So I'll take 20 here, and then if they find the Crobat next turn, they're gonna deal 20 plus 30 every turn of poke damage, which they do. And they also play their Arceus, allowing them to use that Crobat ability. They're probably hiding in the hand, to be honest. But they can't kill us here. Next turn they can kill us though with the Arceus, the Darkrai attack, plus the Crobat damage, plus the Darkrai damage from the ability. So we swap into the Arceus because we can one-shot it, since we already got the 30 damage there. That's what kind of sucks about playing Darkrai, is if you play as a tank, right, you're really susceptible to being one-shot really fast. That's why some people play the Heatran line, where you can swap it back out once it takes damage, and poke damage with the Raging Mad Strike, whatever it's called. But even if we didn't hit him, we had the Giovanni, so if they had like 2 potions there, we still would have won there. And from this point, they lost all their energy, so really hard for them to come back here. We can just swing twice. We have the Sabrina, so... At this point, it's really hard for them to come back here. We have the Sabrina, even if they, didn't have a Darkrai here, so we can swing twice no matter what. They do have a Darkrai, but we can't Sabrina for the game anymore, and they can poke us again with Darkrai. So actually, we have 2 turns here on this HP, because Crobat will deal 30 per turn, Darkrai will deal 20. I do have a potion here, but you know that's our timer basically. The Darkrai 3 energy attack. I do Sabrina it in. They Sabrina Darkrai because if they swap in the Crobat, it's gonna die next turn, or it's gonna die immediately to the 130 damage. I'm gonna swing here, and they're forced to retreat. Otherwise, their Darkrai's gonna die. And at that point, if I have a Cyrus, it's GG, and I have just too much tempo, right? Let's say like if they had a leaf here, they would have to have 2 leaves, because they would have to have like, so they can attach a Darkrai, deal 20 damage, and then deal 30 with the Crobat. So that potion was actually really key because it keeps my Arceus from dying this turn, and they also don't have any points. Keep that in mind. So I can just swap in for a Dialga EX for 100 damage next turn as well. So keep that in mind. Because that was for my leaf, right? Yeah. So I could also stack the Arceus EX because that can still one-shot the Crobat at 110, whereas my Dialga only deals 100, but I need 3 turns for that, right? Having the ability to use the 100 damage next turn is pretty good for me, so I ended up stacking the Dialga instead. If they have a leaf here, they can leaf out into Arceus. That solves another turn, and then they'd have to leaf out again. They'd have to leaf back Darkrai next turn to attack. But at this point, right? Yeah, so they have the Crobat damage plus the Darkrai that they can still use. That leaves me at 10 HP. They have to pass, they have to leaf into Arceus if they had leaf. And then next turn, they can attach with the Darkrai energy. And then I'll have to swap in someone else to tank. Otherwise, if I swap in my Dialga, it's going to die from the Darkrai attack. So, hold on. I'm confusing myself, honestly. So, I have to attack next turn. Okay, so now it's my turn. Wait, what? I'm confused. Okay, so I swing here, and then they have hit HP. What they would do is that they attach Darkrai and Dark Energy on a Darkrai, and then hit us for 20, and then leaf out. Crobat hits us for 30, so we're at 40 health? Oh, they already did that. Yeah, so we'd be at 40 health. And then they would have to expend the 30 plus 20. And then they could kill my Arceus if they swap back in Darkrai. If I swap back in Dialga, I would have taken 80 damage there. I would have died with on the next turn. Right. But if I have a Cyrus at any point, they are gonna die to It's interesting because if they swap into Arceus, right, I would just swing with my Arceus, and then their Arceus would be at 30 health. Their Dark would be at 10. If I had a Cyrus at any point, they're dead. And if I just leaf, they have to start frontloading the Crobat, and the Crobat can get one shot by Arceus. I wonder if they have 2 leaves. They could have won. I do wonder. I'm honestly too lazy to do the calc because they didn't use another leaf, so but like it's really unlikely they have another leaf. But yeah, it just goes to show how good Giovanni is in certain these matches. We didn't need it here, but 140 mark is good against so many different Pokemon, as I mentioned earlier. And yep, that's a wrap for the replays. That'll do it. Top deck of Triumphant Light is Arceus and Dialga EX. Bringing all those temporal gods together. Really sick deck, really cool thematically, and also really cool mechanically. Really enjoyed playing it in tournament and can't wait to play it more. You know, it's got a big counter in the Rampardos matchup, but does really good against everything else. Hopefully we don't see like a rock, paper, scissors meta evolve, but we might just see that with the Executors coming out to counter the Ramparoses. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way here, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Got daily deck lists and guides on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. Follow us there. Feel free to join us on Discord for trading, battles, deck lists, and discussions. Got a nice community there that's always down to trade and talk to you about the game, so join us up there. Appreciate y'all. Planning a tournament this weekend on Saturday. We'll be streaming that. Thanks to Sterling TCG and their partner for this weekend's tournament. Check us out there. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. See you all in the next guide, and climb on.